Hey everybody, it's Galmadex and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we're going to be playing some Historic Brawl with a commander from one of the original Kamigawa sets. That is Isamaru, Hound of Konda, the Hound of the legendary Takeshi Konda, who started the original Kami War that the original Kamigawa sets are based off of. So while Konda himself might not be the coolest dude, Isamaru, Hound of Konda is definitely a loyal good boy. So we're going to build around Isamaru today. How do you build around a 1-mana 2/2 legendary creature with absolutely no text? Well, you build a pretty simple, pretty basic deck here. I'm going to be pretty honest with myself. We're playing a lot of these staples from aggressive mono-white decks in Historic and aggressive mono-white decks in Standard. So pretty basic build today. We have Historic aggro all-stars like Banalish Marshal, Mikaeus the Lunarch, Venerated Loxodon, and so on. Even the nice tutor effects Historic has access to, like Ranger of Eos to grab 1-drop creatures. This one grabs 2 of them when it enters the battlefield. Ranger Captain of Eos grabs 1 of them. And then, of course, we also have the standard mono-white aggro good stuff, the stuff that I'm sure most players on Arena are familiar with, because even the newer players will recognize this stuff from just the play cues right now. Luminarch Aspirant, Elite Spellbinder, Welcoming Vampire, Thalia, Garden of Thraben, just all of the great heavily played aggressive white creatures in general, just making the absolute best use of the fact that we know that every single game is going to start with a turn 1 2/2. So we're just trying to curve out, drop a bunch of creatures on the board real fast, and just beat people up with the best boy, Isamaru, Hound of Konda. We have a couple minor sub-themes in here. Again, not the most spicy Historic Brawl deck ever. Relatively basic, but we have a little bit of Dog Tribal. We have Pack Leader buffing all of our dogs, preventing combat damage that will be dealt to dogs we control. We have Loyal Warhound, that's just a good dog in general, that also benefits from any of the Dog Tribal we have in here. Selfless Saviors, similar, a good dog in general. And Release the Dogs is another one to work with the dog tribal stuff. But the 2 cards that we have that actually buff the dogs are that Pack Leader we talked about and the Animal Sanctuary here. This is a land that allows us to put a +1/+1 counter on a bird, cat, dog, goat, ox, or snake. So it's a little bit slow, and it does produce colorless mana, so it makes it a lot harder to cast like a Banalish Marshal in our hand if we draw one of our colorless lands like that. But I think it's still worth it for flavor reasons. And then since we're running Animal Sanctuary anyway, I decided to run Tyrite Sanctum, because it does basically the exact same thing if we target Isamaru. We get to turn Isamaru into a god dog, which is kind of just hilarious because it's an anagram and all that. So we threw that in here as well. It's basically another Animal Sanctuary, but this one only works on Isamaru. That being said, the other sub-theme we have in the deck, not just Dog Tribal, is Legendary Matters, Legendary Tribal, Historic, whatever you want to call the sub-theme. So Tyrite Sanctum does work with that. And an example of what we're doing to hit that sub-theme is just running all of the best mono-white commanders on Arena. We have Mikaeus, Daxos, Thalia, Redain, Adeline, Sigrid, Tyrannica, Tashar, Icing Death, just tons of legendary creatures. God Eternal Oketch is a particularly sweet one. If you draw this while you still have a couple creatures left in your hand, now you're just spitting out a bunch of 4/4 zombies, but even a 3/6 double strike that's hard to kill is great. So tons of legendary creatures up there. And thanks to having tons of legendary creatures, we get to make the cards that combo well with Isamaru also combo well with all of those. So cards like Mox Amber, that works really well when you have a 1-mana commander. This just makes it an insane mana ramp card. 0 mana for a mana rock that taps for a white very consistently in this deck. This card is absurd. If we get this in our opener, we're going to be dumping our hand so quickly, it's going to be really hard for most decks to come back. Blackblade Reforge is a little similar. It's an equipment that has a really good rate if you're equipping a legendary creature. So great on Isamaru or any of the other legendary creatures we were talking about. And then we also have like Weatherlight to draw out our other legendary cards in the deck. And Urza's Ruinous Blast can sometimes be a one-sided board wipe. and at the very least can be consistently cast in this deck. Since we have such a cheap, just a 1-mana legendary commander, should be relatively easy to cast most of the time. So that's the overview on the deck. Pretty basic mono white aggro stuff. Again, a little bit of some spicy sub-themes in here, like a little bit of dogs, a little bit of legendaries, but for the most part, if you've played aggressive mono white decks in Historic or Standard, you should feel right at home with this deck here. So without further ado, let's hop into some gameplay and see how it fares. Alright, here we are with a pretty sweet hand. Nice 2-drop, 3-drop to play after our Isamaru. One of the things about the deck you might be wondering is why we run still a decent amount of 1-mana cards when we have a 1-mana commander, and that is just to help us dump out our hand really quickly so that on like turn 3 we can play a 2-mana card and a 1-mana card, or on turn 2, 2 1-mana cards. But we're pretty much always going to play Isamaru turn 1. We are against Mu Yanling Sky Dancer here. So she is a planeswalker that can spit out some flying tokens, and she can weaken our creatures with that +2. And this is just a 1/3 once it's on the board. And just attack everybody here. Could just slam down Sigrid to exile that Geist Channeler, get it off the board and have 3 creatures out, or I could just play Legion's Landing and 3-Bin Inspector, because it's not like that's trading off in anything. I think I'm okay with that. I think I'd like to save Sigrid for something a bit later. And I think I'm even okay casting Giant Killer. Yeah, I could chop down, use the 3-mana instant to destroy one of their 4/4 flying tokens later, but I can just really dump the hand here and get a massive board state if I just slam down 3 1-mana cards that turn. Not particularly afraid of board wipes from the mono blue deck over here. So our opponent did get a cost reduction on the Time Warp, which is nice. They do get the Whelming Wave as the board wipe, return everything to hand. So at least we get to recast everything except our token. That is the only kind of board wipes you really got to worry about out of the blue deck. I'm going to play Daxos here before I cast my other cards, so I do gain as much life as possible. Just get our full value. And our opponent might have a good enter the battlefield effect like Geist Channeler to redo, but we do get our 3-Bin Inspectors enter the battlefield effect again at least. Even just that incremental bit of Daxos life gain is better than nothing. Okay, I definitely like actually using Portable Hold to exile the Geist Channeler, so we get aggro here. Play our land first in case they have any mana taxing counter spells. Like a Convolute, counter unless we pay 4. If they got the cost reduction on the Geist Channeler. So Brazen Bar, we're going to put Isamaru back in our hand. We've already declared the attack though, so we get to flip our Legion's Landing, which is nice. And we'll still have the mana to make a token out of it, recasting Isamaru here. Plus, of course, now that Giant Killer's back in the hand, we get to hold up Chop Down to destroy that flyer if they play Mu Yanling. Feeling pretty good here. We don't have a lot of cards in hand, but we've got 2 card draws on the board with our clue tokens. So we're not even that far down in terms of cards in hand compared to our opponent. Blink of an eye. How many times is Isamaru going to get bounced this game? This is wild. It's okay, good boy can keep coming back. They're going to go for the -2/-0. Would I rather draw 2 cards or make 1/1/1 lifelinker? We're not going to kill Mu Yanling either way, because this will still be -2/-0 during our turn. So we could have 2 power on the board if we put these 2 out. We could have 3 power on the board if I put this Sigrid out. Yeah, either way, Yanling survives. So I think I'm just going to draw some cards. Ooh, Ranger of Eos is an excellent draw that draws 2 1-mana creatures out of our deck. So we really still have stuff to go. Settle the Wreckage not going to be particularly appealing in this matchup. Let's see what we can get with Ranger of Eos here. Ooh, Esper Sentinel could definitely be good in this matchup. Dauntless Bodyguard or Selfless Savior to protect a certain creature, particularly the Esper Sentinel, or we could take Mikaeus to buff the board. Mikaeus is pretty slow but pretty powerful. And against blue, it seems like most of what they're going to be doing is putting things back in our hands. We don't really need the Indestructible. So I think I will take the Esper Sentinel and the Mikaeus. I was considering Esper Sentinel plus something to give it Indestructible, but I'm not sure the Indestructible is going to be all that necessary. I'm not even sure I'm playing Mikaeus right now as a 1-1. Probably just rather play Isamaru. Probably even the Giant Killer here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and hit Mu Yanling so they can't make a 4/4 and keep her on the board. So Esper Sentinel gets to draw us a card here off of them casting a Jace. This Jace can return our creatures to our hand, just one at a time, or it can scry and draw them cards. If they return Isamaru to hand again, that would be awesome. Alright, no. Not going for another bounce on Isamaru. They have 1 mana up. Feels pretty unlikely they can counter Mikaeus here with 1 mana. So I kind of like to just run it out with a ton of counters. They have a 6 loyalty Planeswalker and a 5 loyalty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to kill Jace. And we do 2 damage to Mu Yanling, and that keeps her off her most important ability.
You're being irresponsible.
There is a lesson to be learned.
You don't need Mikaeus to be that big to get the full effect out of Mikaeus. So I kind of just like Mikaeus as a 3/3 here, and then we can still use a Danto or Settle or Sajiri Shelter or Sigrid. Like we're holding a ton of things up this way. Because I don't expect that like with Mikaeus, I'm just going to be using the ability to put a counter on all my creatures. I don't foresee this game lasting long enough to where I can do that 3 times and still have not won. So I don't think we need to dump all of our mana into it. And this way we can just recast it here. If we want. They did have Divide by 0, but then I'm not holding up any of my instants. I think still against mono blue generally going to be worth it. Although I could be forgetting about some kind of colorless board wipe if All Is Dust is on Arena. That's a 7 mana Eldrazi spell that makes each player sacrifice all of their mono-colored permanents, or just colored permanents in general, anything that isn't colorless. So there's a Leer, Disciple of the Drowned from our opponent. They can recast all this nonsense from their grave. Eventually. I'd love to kill that, but I can't really. Unless they put it in combat. If they put it in combat, I can get Sigrid to do some things. Definitely going for a Mikaeus ability here. Am I even worried about Mu Yanling anymore? Not particularly. Just attack them with everybody. If they block, we slam down Sigrid, and then we buff our field with Mikaeus. So that Sigrid gets a counter as well. Okay, that'll trigger, we'll draw the card. We can tap Mikaeus right now, let them put it back to our hands, or we can give Mikaeus protection from blue. We want to keep it on the board. That would also counter Divide by Zero, so they couldn't learn off of it either. But last time I think they just discarded a card and drew a card anyway. Yeah, they didn't pull a lesson out last time, so I don't think it really matters. I think we're cool to let Mikaeus go back to her hand. Like, I'm okay with missing out on a counter on Sigrid if they go for a block here. Alright, so we are going to miss out on a counter on Sigrid. Although we could just go for the onboard trick without having to expend one of our spells. That also feels pretty good. Just buff Isamaru and kill that. And now we still have Sigrid to kill something else. Now we can Welcoming Vampires to draw cards off of everything we play, and then Mikaeus on 2, which still feels like plenty with them at 7 life. So we draw a card from Welcoming Vampire now, plus have a Mikaeus that can buff our field 2 more times. Alright, a nerf on Isamaru, dropping a Tezzeret to the board. Esper Sentinel has just been going off here, keeping us fueled. This card is ridiculous.
Do you really think you can keep up with me? You're still one step behind.
Search for Esconta, and they are tapped out, and that is the concession. Pretty excellent starting hand here, and it looks like this game we're going to be against the first Sliver, so a Sliver 5-color tribal deck. Going to be some wild stuff. But this is a really excellent hand from us. We get to start off with Isamaru plus a Mox Amber, so next turn we'll have 3 mana on turn 2. Unfortunately, no other 1-mana cards to go with it this game. Just play a First Striker here. Do we want to hold up Containment Priest? I don't think Containment Priest is really going to do anything against them. They do cast the spells that they cascade into, so Containment Priest doesn't counter that. Just drop an Eidolon here. Get attacking in. I mean, if they're like 5-color, just super friends, Planeswalker, Tribal, then I suppose Eidolon does a lot of stuff, but I'm assuming they aren't. I would expect most of those commanders to just be Golos or Kenrith, the general 5-color good stuff commanders. Alseid of Life's Bounty. Little 1/1 here, they can sacrifice it to protect something. Yep, give something protection from the color of their choice till end of turn. Definitely releasing the dogs here. 4 1/1s to start getting in there. Herald's Horn. Now their slivers are going to cost 1 less. And at the beginning of their upkeep, they look at the top card of their library. If it's a sliver, they reveal it and put it into their hand. Alright. Play a Bodyguard on Isamaru. Hold up a Valorous Stance to destroy the first sliver. Probably should have just played Hallowblade instead. I don't really think I need to protect Isamaru. I just like to do it because it's like, yeah, you protect your commander. That's what you do. But there's genuinely no real reason to protect Isamaru, other than that Isamaru is the bestest boy. If I kill the first sliver on the spot, it doesn't really accomplish anything for me, right? Like, I get a 7/7 off the board, but it's still going to cascade when they cast it. I guess I could kill it in response to its cascade trigger, so they can't cascade into another sliver that would then cascade into another sliver after that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My only qualm is that I don't have lethal. I guess I don't have lethal either way. Even if I play Hallowblade, I don't have lethal next turn, so... If it was the difference between having lethal on board or not, then I'd probably just play Hallowblade and go for killing the 7/7 next turn. But I think we just kill it right now. Oh, it's not even technically on the board till its Cascade ability resolves. which I guess is a good thing, because that means that it can't just cascade loop until next turn. Is that a regrowth? It's a growth spiral. Very beautiful alternate art from our opponent. Destroy that. Back into the command zone it goes. Our turn. Attack for a bunch. And unless they get a very good board state, should certainly have lethal on board. Alright, we'll see what the first sliver accomplishes this time. Pillar of Origins, alright. Just another mana rock. Should be one creature on the board. They do have 2 mana up though. And their slivers cost less, so Lancer Sliver, that works. Masked Vandal, another sliver, that gets them a 1-drop, and they get to exile our Eidolon of Obstruction. Again, Cascade, they are casting these spells. Choose an artifact or creature card from it. Alright, well now that they're going to make us discard this card anyway, we might as well drop it down. Because we're 2 mana away from Immortal Sun, that's quite a while here. So I'll just play Containment Priest to get the creature out, and let them divest the Immortal Sun. But Containment Priest is not going to work here, it's not going to exile these creatures. But I believe that's lethal, right? They have 3 blockers, we have 7 attackers. That's 4 damage in from just the 1-power attackers. And that is lethal. That is going to be game. Another excellent hand here, a definite keep. Playing against Chainer, Nightmare Adept, a very interesting commander from our opponent. They can discard a card to cast a creature from their graveyard. And whenever non-turn creature enters the battlefield, if they didn't cast it from their hand, it gains haste. So anything they reanimate gains haste. Oh, I definitely like going for this Warhound turn 3. That could be pretty sweet. So I think I'll discard this Plains, because we can just play Warhound turn 3 and get our 3rd Plains if we don't hit it naturally, and we have hit it naturally anyway. But we're definitely going to go Legion's Landing, Usher the Fallen here, I think. So we have enough creatures on the board to attack and flip the landing easily. Could also play a Danto Vanguard, that wouldn't be terrible. But we're definitely not playing the Warhound. I guess the question is, do I want to play this because it attacks into Disciple well, or am I okay with trading one of these into it? I think I'm okay trading with one of these. Probably going to be trading the 2/1 off into it, but we will be flipping a landing and doing that. So then we'll be ramping up, and we'll have a token producer to keep making 1/1 vampire tokens with the lifelink. So there's the 3rd land from our opponent, turn 3. And what else? What do we got here? Shatter Skull Smashing, unfortunately, keeping me off of flipping the Legion's Landing. Well, at least we draw a 1-drop creature, so we can Loyal Warhound into that. Maul of the Skyclaves does not seem all that necessary to me here. Because these are fine trades for me, and I still have 3 creatures around for Legion's Landing to flip next turn. tapped land turn 4. That is going to keep them from casting Chainer this turn, but they will cast Doomed Necromancer. Ooh. Yeah, that's going to be really good with Chainer. Because its ability, you don't have to have a creature in graveyard to do that. They can just discard a card just when they want to. So discard a really good card, and then just bring it back with the Necromancer instead. So it would be nice to have a way to kill that Necromancer, but we don't here. So what is our plan? We could Ranger of Eos, but then we won't have the mana to cast the 1-drops. Yeah, this is scary. I think I want a Ranger of Eos, because then I might have some kind of options for helping against that stuff, and I can keep the Maul for later. Let the Warhound trade into the Disciple here, so we can flip the landing. Although I could just do this to flip the landing. We lose our 1/1 to their 2/2. Yeah, I think this is fine. We still train the Hopeful Initiate. And flip the Adonto. Alright, they play it very safe with that Necromancer. They are certainly planning on bringing something big back then if they don't make the block there. That actually, because it flips Adonto, gives us the mana to play the 1-drop here if we have a 1-drop that's like Graveyard Hate, but I'm not sure there's one on Arena. If there is, it should be in here because we have Ranger of Eos and another card that searches for 1-drops. So if there is a 1-mana white or colorless creature that's kind of like a Graph Digger's Cage kind of card, let me know in the comments below, because that should be in this deck. Ooh, Giant Killer? Actually pretty clutch here. So we can kill whatever they reanimate. Not immediately, but the turn after this. Feels like a good pickup. I totally forgot I'm supposed to pick up 2 cards with that one. I was just talking about how we had 2 cards that search 1-drops out of our deck, like the Ranger of Eos. So I just instinctually started conflating the 2 and making it that 3-mana one that only searches for 1/1-drop. So I just full-on missed the value there for no reason. Sack that at instant speed, but they're just going to get back the 1/1 here if they do. It's not that scary. We can definitely kill Davriel here. Just send Isamaru that way. Again, I don't think I need to play the Maul here. Send all our 3-power stuff there and our 2-power to Davriel. And I have the mana to play Ambitious Farmhand and the Maul. They're going to let the Necromancer die. Alright, we'll take that trade. Or they can just get an Elderfang Disciple back. I guess Chainer does let them recast the Necromancer from the grave for later. But that's pretty fine by us. And at this point, I might be okay to discard Giant Killer. I think I am, but maybe it's the Maul. The Maul also feels unnecessary. I like the Farmhand so we can play the Farmhand plus make a 1/1 here. Keep adding to the board. Get rid of the Giant Killer. Really pretty big punt here, not grabbing 2 creatures off of Ranger of Eos, because then we would just have the bonus card to discard there. Or maybe just playing the Farmhand pre-combat so we could discard the planes instead would have been good too. Alright. I guess they were hoping for a 5th mana or something, so just a strange concession there, but yeah, we'll take it. Just a strangely timed concession. I mean, fair enough. If they didn't hit the mana for what they needed to play, this is, you know, a lethal board state here. They're at 8 life. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They can stop 3 of it, so they take 11. Can stop 3 more if they play Chainer, but that's still 8. So, yeah, even just on board without the Maul, quite a dangerous board state to be up against there. Another game with Isamaru here and a great opening hand. However, might be a bit of a tough matchup here, kind of a mirror match, but their commander spits out multiple little 1/1 tokens throughout the game. So we're going to need to go really fast before the board gets cluttered. And we can no longer get in well. So luckily we had a really good start with Isamaru into Dauntless Bodyguard off of our Mox Amber. Card is absolutely busted. It means we can even turn to a Redain here. But they don't have Snowland, so it'll just stop their non-creature spells. That's not that exciting. We could play Tanika instead, or Mentor of the Meek to draw cards. Probably go for Tanika here. Or Tyrannica. I think Soul Warden's worth the trade for the Bodyguard here. So they are not going to take the trade, but we'll offer it. Because both players this game are going to be playing a lot of creatures, and it looks like they are a token deck primarily. There's a Dawn of Hope now. For 4 mana they can produce little tokens, and when they gain life they can spend 2 to draw a card. Ooh, there's a Machias coming up. Very sweet. Now do we go for the Redain, the Mentor, the Machias? Really put as much pressure as we can on. What's the best way? I would assume it's Redain. But it could be Machias. It's definitely not Mentor. Like, Mentor makes sure that we're going to be fueled throughout this game. It doesn't put that much pressure out immediately. Like, it's pretty small. Yeah, maybe it was Machias, because Machias is threatening like 3 damage already. We play another creature and it's 4. It's just... And it stacks up each turn into more and more. Alright, so here comes the Skyclave Apparition to go ahead and exile Tyrannica. If we kill that Skyclave Apparition, we do get a 3/3 creature token at least. Ooh, Paladin class. Can buff our board. Not super great till it's at 5 counters though. Or well, at level 3 where we need 5 mana. What I should say. I think we play Machias here. Yeah, I'm going to go for it post-combat because they weren't inclined to trade Soul Warden into Bodyguard previously because of the amount of life gain it's giving them. So I expect they won't do it again here if we attack all, which they didn't. But maybe had we played Machias pre-combat, they would have. Because then they know these creatures can get even bigger and more threatening, so every single creature that we have matters. Just exponentially more when we can buff them every turn with Machias. And again, we're going for a small Machias here because we're just trying to close out this game quickly. So we'd rather be able to slam both of these out onto the board than have a Machias with like 4 counters when the game like very well might not even last 4 more turns. Ooh, Cathar Commando can kill their Dawn of Hope. It's pretty cool. Could also just buff everybody with Paladin class. Alright, they're going to scoop them up. I think I was going to go for the Paladin class buff and then use Machias. And then even if the game lasts long enough to where Machias does use all of Machias' counters, because of Paladin class, Machias will still be a 1/1, and then we can, slowly but surely restack counters onto Machias again later. But yeah, really good start there. Isamaru into Dauntless Bodyguard, turn 1, turn 2. Gonna lead to a pretty explosive, very quick start for us. Even against Soul Warden, Skyclave Apparition, got a good amount of damage in there. Another great hand here. Definitely going to go for the Snap Keep. Get out that turn 1 Isamaru as we always do. Get a farm hand here. Just makes the most of our mana. Does look a little counterintuitive because Usher the Fallen is higher power, so it's a little more threatening. drawn a Liberator of Malakir. Whenever deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature they control. They have Conclave Mentor, doubling those counters. So it's going to be 2 counters on all their attacking creatures. That's going to be really threatening. God Eternal Catcher, though. That's going to be a sweet draw for later. A sweet play for later, I should say. Can't do much now, can we? We can send an Isamaru. We can't send in this Usher, can we? No. We can send an Isamaru because of the Animal Sanctuary. Can't do much of anything with the other creatures, though, because of the first strike blocker our opponent has. I'd rather hold up Teferi's Protection than get in for 1 extra point of damage. Like, we can still just use Animal Sanctuary to put the counter on Isamaru later, and then we've just missed a single point of damage. But now we've got options open at the cost of basically letting our opponent gain 1 life. I'm pretty fine with that. So now I think I'm just going to slam down God Eternal Oketra, but Farmhand can flip 2 now. Actually, I love the all attack here. If they don't make any blocks and we don't have to do anything, then we'll just play God Eternal Oketra. If they make any blocks, then we'll do the proper pumps or boasts or whatever. Alright, here's Oketra. And even if Oketra dies, she's one of the gods that goes back into our library. Even if they exile her, too. Rana's still getting in big time with the Conclave Mentor buffs. She's up to a 6/7 body, and here's a Fertilid with 3 counters on it. We can have Farmhand be a 3/3 against the Fertilid, Isamaru be a 4/4 against the Fertilid. The only thing that can't do well against the Fertilid is the Usher. Send in everybody else. Maybe we're at the point now where just getting in for a couple more chip damage is worth sending in the Usher too. I wanted her to be a zombie cat god so I could put a counter on her with her double strike, but I can't. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think again, just I'd rather be able to hold up this Teferi's Protection in case they wrath us than get in for 1 more point of damage. Because we very likely can find lethal next turn either way with a Sajiri Shelter to get protection from whatever color their blockers are. Ooh, that's a big Conclave Mentor. Alright. All the counters from the Fertilid go onto the Ozolith, which then go onto the Conclave Mentor. They're going to pass turn to my turn here. Get another counter on Isamaru. They can block Oketra and take 6. Yep, they scoop them up. Alright, I was just trying to do the math here, see if they had... Try to think what they could possibly have here to play around with the Shelter or the Teferi's Protection to figure out if I'm supposed to just main phase this on one of my creatures and attack in with that one or just hold it up. I think I was probably going to attack all and just hold this up if something weird happened, but looks like they had nothing, so there was the concession from our opponent there. Alright, here we are in what is going to be my final game of Historic Brawl for the day. Looks like we are against Riz the Redeemed. That is a Selesnya tokens deck. Very classic commander, has been popular in that format for a long time. And another excellent hand here. A little bit low on mana. But we can still do our commander into Savior into Mikaeus. Maybe supposed to take the free mulligan here. It is pretty low on mana. We have 4 and 6 mana cards in hand. Yeah, I'll take the free mull. Uh-oh. This is a 3 land hand thanks to Kabira takedown at least, so we'll keep this one. Not going to mull down to 6 here. Turn 1 Soul Warden, not a card we like to see. Our opponent will be gaining a lot of life throughout the game, especially on a token deck. Alright, foretells a card turn 2. In green-white must be a Starnheim Unleashed. I couldn't imagine what else it would be. And Starnheim Unleashed is going to be a really bad time for us, just a super powerful card. No real counterplay to it. The Containment Priest only exiles non-token creatures, so it would not counter the Starnheim Unleashed. So I think we just have to accept that a Starnheim Unleashed is going to come take our lunch money pretty soon here. I should have played Kabira Plateau as the land for turn and played Thraben Inspector here. That way I could guarantee I'm casting a History of Benalia turn 3, but I guess we'll go for the Containment Priest instead. Just flash in a 2/2. Make the most of our mana. Core Celebrant from our opponents. Another great life gain card. We do naturally hit the third untapped land, so that works great for History of Benalia. Could still play the tapped land this turn instead if I want to play Icing Death, but History is one of our best aggressive cards, and that feels like one of the only ways we can try to close out this game before a Starnheim Unleashed wrecks us. Could double block to kill one of these, but we get to kill Soul Warden if they do, and both of these are 2/2s with no text, so it's worth the trade into a Soul Warden. No blocks. They've got more than enough life gain. There's the Starnheim Unleashed for 1 here, so they must be stuck on mana. Alright, well at least that's out of the way. We don't have to be worried about that anymore. We can Kabira Takedown to kill the flyer, and then we have the same pretty good attacks to trade into that Soul Warden. I think that's worth it. Even though we could play this as a land and we do have a 4/6 mana card in hand, feels good to stay aggressive while our opponent's stuck on mana here. They have a commander that is going to really go off late game, doubling up their stuff for 6 mana, doubling all their creature tokens. Conclave Guildmage. Opponent still consistently gaining a lot of life here, and there's Riz the Redeemed as well. We're going to buff the Knights this turn for a really nice attack from those 2 tokens. Ooh, and an Adeline. Get more tokens of our own, again against Soul Warden. Our opponent's probably consistently going to be at just above starting life total, but at least we can try to push to have the better board state. And again, the only way they kill anything is trading off a 2/2 or a 1/1 and a 1/4 to trade off a 1/1. So we're actually pretty cool for the attack all. Because again, our only creatures that are at a high risk of dying here just have no abilities anyway. Looks like our opponent's just going to scoop them up there. The game certainly wasn't over for them by any stretch of the imagination, but Historic Brawl is a for fun format, and they probably just didn't want to continue playing a game on the back foot against an aggro deck. Well, not even really on the back foot. They probably just didn't want to play a game with when they're stuck on mana like this. Players can get pretty frustrated with that, especially in a super casual format like this. Being stuck on mana and watching your opponent do all kinds of stuff, sometimes not particularly enjoyable for some players. But looks like that is going to end today's video. Bunch of Historic Brawl games with that Isamaru deck. Pretty fun games overall. Pretty fun deck if you like the mono-white aggro decks that Standard and Historic have. Kind of a mixture of both with just a little bit of spice. Not the most unique or most synergistic Historic Brawl deck in the world, because our commander is literally a vanilla card with no no ability to really build around. So we're just building around kind of the aggro aspects. We do have that little bit of dog tribal. We had the Animal Sanctuary actually go off in a few of those games, which was cool. But for the most part, just great mono white aggro stuff. Pretty classic white weenie stuff in this deck. So here's one final look at the deck list. I will have a link in the description below, but that is going to end today's video. If you enjoy Magic Arena and you want to see some more videos like this, you're at the right place. Stick around on the channel. You can leave a like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send more of these videos your way. And I will be back again very soon for some more Magic Arena. We've got Kamigawa Neon Dynasty spoilers starting this Thursday and Innistrad double feature drafts starting this Friday. So I will see you all for those exciting events coming up very soon.